Now, why would you do something terrible like that?
It's a good question. Anyways, we are back in action.
Finally.
In longer than a month? 2
Yes.
months, maybe?
Yes.
It's been that means we just have a lot of things to talk about then, right?
Yes, we do.
So,
Should we start with the games that we've been playing?
I guess that's a good place to start.
Alright, well, you go ahead since you have the most new stuff, seeing as I walked in here and Bloodborne was going on.
So, yeah, I've got Bloodborne. I got a new PS4. I've been trying out the new console. I guess a quick 10 cents on that. I like the feel of the controller. I hate the little touch button on top of it.
I haven't actually held the controller.
Yeah, here.
Let's feel this, shall we?
You can feel the controller. It's not terrible. No, it's not the best controller ever, but
I still like the PS2 controller. I think that's the best controller.
That was a good controller, and it's going to be hard to beat. But this controller actually does feel pretty good.
It does feel good in the hands.
I don't like this little touchpad thing here. It's just a giant awkward start button. And then we don't have a start button, we have an options button.
Oh, wow, that is weird.
And a share button, which lets you...
Share. Now, to be fair, I could see some situations where you would do that if you capture a good, fun bug.
Well, the thing is, like, the way it's set up, the PlayStation is always recording your footage. And then... when you want, you can go back and put it up, and it saves, like, I think, the last hour. And so if you do find something like that, all you should really have to do is press the PlayStation button, open the menu, and say, hey, I want that last hour. There shouldn't be a dedicated button there. Like, that should have been a select or a start or something.
Seriously, the lack of a start button is really bugging me.
Because now we have this solid share button that you never want to press because it's going to start doing things you probably don't 90% of people don't really want to do.
I do like how the shoulder buttons are easier to reach because some controllers.
Yeah, I like their curvature too. It's a nice feeling controller.
I mean, some of the the Xbox the old Xbox controller, your fingers can barely even.
Oh
reach
god,
up
I
there.
hated that controller. That was like almost as bad as the N64 controller. Nothing really quite beats how terrible the N64
The GameCube controller gave it a run for its money.
The GameCube controller is fantastic. Look at this bad boy. It's still alive. I really, there's just something about the teeny tiny X and Y buttons up there that just drive I don't know. I like it because like your thumb sits squarely on this big A button, and then you just kind of slide over to hit what you want.
I don't know. I just wish the X and Y buttons were a bit bigger. They're just kind of weirdly placed.
You know what? I'm surprised there really isn't more custom controllers and custom controllers.
There are
custom controllers, but
you
either have to make them through like some expensive specialty shop or you're getting a Mad Catz.
That actually reminds me, this is completely not on the itinerary, but have you seen the guy who beat Dark Souls with the bongo controller?
I have. That was amazing the whole time. And I think one of the most disappointing things is it doesn't really have like a nice rhythm. Like I thought watching it was going to be like
you wanted a rhythm,
but it was still really cool. Like you thought it was cool if there was like a rhythm to Dark Souls, like bum 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 bum, and that's the secret.
That would be the most perfect, obscure, nobody would ever find it Easter egg. Is if you program the game so that when somebody did something stupid like that, it would play. I don't know. Never gonna give you up or some shit.
It'd be impossible to do, but
it would be impossible.
But it was still really cool, like the dexterity to just do that.
Yeah. All right, so Bloodborne.
But yeah, so I guess the PS4 just finished that out. I hate the UI.
Really?
Yeah, I absolutely hate the UI.
Why? When I saw a little bit of it, it looked just like the PS3, so...
Well, the PS3 had these very distinct menus, and you could understand what they were. And this one, you have, like, 2 menu layers, and then you have a top layer with all your settings and notifications, and that's nice. And then the bottom with all your games. And in theory, that'd be really great. But since I am a disc-based player, I tend to like to own physical media. It has a little box for every single game I've ever put in, even if it's a disc, and I can't play it without the disc.
Oh, I get it.
So every time I switch discs, I have to scroll all the way over to that game that I can't play without putting the disc in. It's dumb.
What, it just doesn't have an auto start?
Not really. You have to just scroll to the game.
That's kind of that just seems kind of weird.
But on the bright side, you have voice control. So if you have just the right voice, you can say,
as long as your voice isn't too black.
Yes, you could say play Bloodborne and it goes. But
speaking of Bloodborne,
when you have weird games like Akiba's Strip and it just doesn't know how to hear that. Yeah, those kind of games. Which I play a lot of those kind of games. So
how's the new Arcana Heart?
Arcana Heart? I have not played that.
Really?
I have not. I have 3 PlayStation 4 games right now, not including the ones I got from PlayStation Plus. And that is Bloodborne, Final Fantasy Type 0, and Akiba's Strip.
Not, the one on the box?
Oh, yeah. I also have Last of Us Remastered, in case I ever want to replay the game I played on PlayStation 3. Not feeling it. Because that was a big problem with both Xbox One and PlayStation 4 when they first came out. All their best games were remakes. And I don't want to play a remake.
Fair enough. Okay, so...
But yeah, so that's PlayStation 4.
You showed me the shield in Bloodborne just before we started.
Yeah, that was... so I guess the next game, the one I'm playing right now, like literally before we started, I was fighting some monsters, is Bloodborne. And I was actually a little pessimistic about this one.
You were.
I was, and that was mostly because of Dark Souls 2.
Which I still think is a very good game.
No, it's a good game. It's just... It lacks a lot of those little small touches that makes it feel like a cohesive, great game. Like, it's good, but not great.
Well, you see, the thing is, you could say that about, like, Persona 4, but I find the UI improvements to Dark Souls 2 just make it a better game altogether. Because I'm looking at the UI for Dark Souls 1.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's one of the like, when you look at laterally, what kind of... Some things got better and some things got worse. In Dark Souls 2, what got better were some of these UI things.
And I just can't go back...
But what got worse was a lot of the gameplay.
I just can't look at Dark Souls 1. I can't really handle it because the UI just turns me off.
I'm the opposite way. I play Dark Souls 2 and I'm just like, this is so stale and sterile. And I play Dark Souls 1 and Demon Souls and now Bloodborne. And there's just so much life and all like the different monster types and the way the maps are set up and how everything feels cohesive and connected.
Well, okay, so...
But yes, like I said, I was pessimistic about Bloodborne, and if you haven't picked up, I have become a believer.
Don't doubt them. Don't doubt them.
I doubted From, but I shouldn't have doubted From. It was all Namco. Namco was the problem.
See? Now say you're sorry.
I will say, because this game is great. I recommend it. This could bring the PS4 out of... into a new life, because I know the PS4, while it's doing really good, it's not doing as well as it wants to do, and a lot of people aren't super excited for games on the console. And this could be a big console push, this one Bloodborne game.
How's the difficulty?
So, it is exactly as difficult as Dark Souls 1 and 2 and Demon Souls. I've died a lot. It's not quite as punishing in the way that when you die, like in Demon Souls, you lose half your health, and you have to, like, mitigate that. Instead, when you die, you just pop back up, and this is the big thing that really irks me about Bloodborne, because there's one big thing. The penalty for dying is that you have to wait for a loading screen. And these are solid 1 minute long loading screens. Yes.
Do you think when it gets the PC port that'll improve?
You know what? I hope the PC port, when they make that, assuming they make that, will just fix all of it.
Because that is a bit of a punishing. So how are the bosses? Have you encountered any yet? Or?
Well, I guess the big change between gameplay wise between Bloodborne and Dark Souls is I showed you the joke shield. Shields are not a thing anymore. There's no blocking.
Yeah, what was the description of the shield? Something like it makes you too passive?
Yeah, basically, there's one shield in the game that I picked up, unless there's another somewhere. But it's one shield, it's the wooden shield, and it basically reads, most hunters don't use shields because the beast lurking will break right through them. And then shields are nice, but not if they encourage passivity.
And which is like the biggest...
Yeah, which in Dark Souls 1 and 2, the biggest strategy was to get a really good shield and just turtle. So that's gone. That's dead in this game.
That is a bit... That's kind of on the nose as well. That's very on the nose kind of a comment.
Well, I think, like, moving forward, one of the big things I wanted from Bloodborne was that it wasn't just Dark Souls with...
blood.
A different coat of paint. I wanted this... I have a feeling when you take a game and you name it something else entirely, when you separate it from a franchise, you should make it feel separate from that franchise. You have room to reinvent the game however you want, and you should take full use of that.
Fair enough, but at the same time, you can't go too far without alienating...
Oh, sure.
The people who are going to be...
Well, there's always going to be naysayers. And of course, you always want to, embrace what you already have. And this game, still plays very similar to a Souls game.
I was looking at it when you were playing just a little bit before we started. You have your health bar. It's not magic. That's actually the question.
Yeah, there's no magic in this game as well.
Okay, so how does that work? Is it just tech and you have like a bar for it, or
I honestly don't know yet because I'm not far enough to find magic or any magic tech. Like what you do have is you have a weapon and you have a gun or some other sidearm. Like I know you can also use a torch, or you can pretend like you can use the shield. Which the great thing about that is any attack you get hit while holding that shield up instantly stun locks you.
So you might as well not block.
So yeah, it's completely useless. Like I found that out the hard way. I was like, oh, a shield, great. I know how to use this. Nope. But yeah, so because it wants to be more aggressive. I found myself there's a lot more cross countering. I find myself often hitting an enemy as they hit me.
Oh wow.
But there's a mechanic within the game that sort of says, sure, that's okay, do that. Which, when you get hit, instead of losing all your HP...
Oh, there's there's the bar, like they do in fighter games?
Yeah, so you use a little bit, and then if you hit an enemy, you can regain what you lost.
Oh, really?
And so, some attacks will lose like a certain percent of total, but you don't lose all of it, no matter what. And so, as long as you hit back an enemy... And you haven't been hit under 0, of course.
Okay, so it's like, let's say a basic attack will take like 2% of your health. Let's say it'll take like 5% of your health, but if you manage to hit back, you only lose 2%.
Yeah.
Okay. That
and
actually
so
works.
The great thing about that, so those cross counters, that aggressiveness, it leads to it because obviously if you get hit, you want to hit back to gain that health back.
Okay,
and that's what I mean. This game promotes aggressively in a very smart way.
That actually is a really smart mechanic. I didn't know they did that. That's actually really good.
Yeah, that was one thing I found like early on. I was like, oh, that seems. And at first, I was a little worried about it because I'm like, that's like getting back HP, and like if you're really good, you should never really lose too much HP. But then, like as I played the game, and there's no blocking, and there's a lot of cross countering happening. It works a lot better, and I'm very happy with it.
So, is this in the real world, or is this, like, in... Where is the game taking place?
Medieval land with werewolves.
Medieval land, so basically...
Medieval land with werewolves.
Okay, so basically Order world.
Yeah, it's basically... Yeah, it's like the same kind of era the Order 1866 takes place, except instead of watching cutscenes... Yeah. And like 10 seconds of gameplay. It's all gameplay and like 10 seconds of cutscene.
I'm just waiting for the moment where Solaire shows up and he's like, "Hey, dude, remember me?"
Yeah, I'm waiting to see like if they put in the little touches like patches or Solitaire or some kind of any of that stuff. But so far, like I haven't finished the game. It's only been out less than 2 days.
Less than 24 hours, really.
Yeah, well, for me, because I worked the day it came out, I played like 2 hours the day it came out, and the rest I've just played the day. But it's very fun. If you, for some reason, have a PS4 already, it is a must-have. Don't you even try to fight that. It's a great game. But yeah, so that's Bloodborne. I guess I have some more games. Do you want to jump in?
No, you go ahead. Finish your game.
All right. So some of the games, I played 2 demos, actually. Well, one's not really a demo. It's a playable teaser.
Which one is that?
That's PT.
Okay.
PT.
So
that's the Silent Hills kind of demo.
Yeah, that's Silent Hills, but can we actually save that one for a little bit?
Sure.
That's the first thing on the docket.
Yeah.
I actually talk about the game, but that is actually tying into something on the docket.
I do not like scary games. I think I need to open this. I am absolutely terrified of, like, jump scares and all of that stuff. Actually, one of the great things about Bloodborne and the PS4... I'm trying to see where we put this controller. I'll show you. There's a little port right here where you can plug in your headphones.
Oh.
And so, no matter where I am, I can put my headphones on. And so, when I'm playing Bloodborne, I have I have very expensive headphones, like $100 plus headphones.
Can you do the PT on the PS3 or not?
No, that's a PS4 game.
Oh.
So, but yeah, so...
Oh, darn. Looks like I can't
really
play
good.
this scary game.
But when I played PT, I did the same thing, and I got, like, 10 minutes in before, like, the first jump scare happened, and I immediately noped out of the game.
So you're just like...
Nope, I'm done. Time to go home. I'd like to sleep at night.
Well, you mean you weren't playing it at night?
No, I was playing at night. That's the problem.
Oh, so you're like, I would actually like to close
my
eyes.
I would full atmosphere. Like, I had big around-the-ear Audio Technica 900s. Like, I was ready to go. And I just noped out of there, like, the first time you saw the ghost. But then later, I had a friend come over, and he's also really scared of games. And even with the 2 of us here, in the middle of the day, all the lights on, like we weren't using headphones or anything, just like swapping out the controller every time one of us got even slightly spooked, we still like had trouble playing the game because it was so...
I have actually not seen anything about it, so don't say anything.
Yeah, so I'm not going to go into any spoilers, but yeah, we had a ton of fun until the very end, which I don't know if you know, there was the last puzzle.
Yeah, I know that last puzzle is apparently hard.
Yeah, it's really arbitrary to pull off, and so we were super scared until that last puzzle section where, like, there's a whole bunch of ways to trigger it, like yelling at the ghost and, like, staring at certain things and trying to talk on. And so you could see us the whole time, because the ghost, his name is Lisa, just be like, Lisa, get out here! I'll kill you!
Bitch, naked ghost, get out here!
And so it was super scary but it was a really great demo. It makes me excited for a game I'm not going to play because that was way too scary. The other demo I played was the Final Fantasy 15 demo. It was actually really fun. This is a game I've had my eye on since it was called Final Fantasy 13 Versus, and it was supposed to come out almost at the launch of the PS3. And so obviously it's come a long way since then.
Toriyama's no longer directing it.
Yeah, so they moved a lot of people around. It's getting shuffled to a new engine. You could tell that in the demo, because there were a lot of like really hard frame rate dips.
Really?
Yeah, like very noticeable. Like, oh look, the game's at 10 frames. All right, now it's back again. But beyond some of that, it looked really great, which you expect for a mainline Final Fantasy, so that's not saying too much, but it is the nicest thing I've played on the PS4.
There's just something... I don't know. If it's still part of that Ares Crystallis or whatever series, I just...
Well, it's no longer part of Final Fantasy 13 line, but it's its own game.
If they say the word "let's see," I'm burning the company down. Because I was looking at Type 0, I thought, hey,
yeah,
this
Type
might
0
be fun.
has the C too, and that was one of the things. Like, is this part of Huh?
Oh, wait, let's see. Oh, never mind. Burn the disc.
Yeah. Oh.
Because that was the biggest bullshit. I'm sorry. Continue.
No, it's fine. I have very painful memories of Final Fantasy 13 as well. I have no idea how I got through that game. Probably because I had no other games for like a year.
So it was either this or not play a video game.
Yeah, that was kind of it for a little while. It was a pretty sad game. It was pretty to look at, but that was about it.
I actually saw a scene from that at the Chocobo farm, where that girl is yelling at the guy for feeding the Chocobos old food or something.
Yeah. I
did like the remix. I did like some of the music. That was...
Yeah. Well, it had a lot of art assets that were really great, but gameplay-wise, it was just...
It was a Final Fantasy game.
It was terrible.
That's not a good thing to say!
But Final Fantasy 15 is a step up in all the right directions.
I thought you were talking about 15 there.
No, Final Fantasy 13 is the terrible.
Oh, okay.
Final Fantasy 15... They drop you off on this huge, open, sandboxy kind of map. It is open world as hell. Like, this is a little segment of the game. Like a little 4-hour chunk. And it's this just giant map you can roam around. Lots of enemies and things to bump in. Huge battles. Like, there are battles where you had, like, 40 guys on the map. And you were just trying to jump around, do things. It was great. Like, frame rate dips aside,
the main characters?
it was great.
How are the character
they are
personalities?
Pretty boys.
So you still expect some yaoi at some point.
Yeah, so they definitely look like they are trying to cater to the female audience with some of these guys. But they seem alright. They're not like overly like, oh,
how's the angst
levels?
How are the angst levels?
So they kept the angst levels decently low enough that I might be able to enjoy, because I want to enjoy a good game where it's just 4 bros going on an adventure
with that in their car.
In their car, like that seems like such a novel idea to me, and so I am a little excited. The demo obviously was missing a lot of things. You didn't have any magic in there.
Seriously?
Yeah, it only had like a couple weapons you could use. It was a demo.
Well, I mean, if you're going to make a Final Fantasy demo, the least you could do is maybe let somebody cast fire.
Yeah, so the big thing I pulled away from the demo, though, is it looks like they have a really good idea of what they want to do, but they got a lot of work before it's ready to come out. So keep an eye on it, make sure they fix all the problems. But yeah, so those were my 2 demos. Obviously, I also played Final Fantasy Type 0, which the Final Fantasy 15 demo came with. That game is a PSP game, through and through. Everything about it feels like a PSP game.
I heard the English dubbing was kind of shit.
It wasn't... The dubbing voices aren't bad. It's just them trying to lip sync that just really just destroys it. Because you can tell, like, the voice actors are trying to match the lips. And that's why they're giving a whole bunch of extra awkward pauses. But yeah, I switched over to the Japanese, which I often do.
And apparently, I saw like a video of it just real fast, and that motion blur made me physically ill.
Oh yeah, well that's it feels like a PSP game because normally, like with one of these controllers here, if you tilt it slightly, you get like a walking speed.
Yeah.
And then like it's the slow move up to that run. And this one, it's either on off. It is might as well be using the D-pad here. Which, that's a carryover from, obviously, when it was a PSP game.
It's the best Final Fantasy game that's come out in the last 5 years.
That's the sad part, though. But yeah, so that's Type 0. And I guess there's one other really big game.
Monster Hunter?
It's Monster Hunter. It's Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate for the 3DS.
You've only played 80 hours, you scrub.
I've only played 84 hours. That's it.
Only 84
I need
hours.
I need a couple more hours. I need a couple more hunts. I need a couple more items. I need a couple more everything. That game was just so fantastic, though.
Inject the crap directly into your eyeballs.
But for all the reasons that I love the Souls series and Bloodborne, I love Monster Hunter. The gameplay of just you and this one monster, you don't get to see the monster's health bar. You just have to know instinctually from watching what it does and how it acts, where its HP is at, how long this fight's going. And it is one of those things you pick up by fighting these monsters. But on top of that, that sort of, committing yourself to attacks, and attacks do a good damage, and they feel weighty. I use the Great Sword almost primarily, which is just exactly what it sounds. It's a big sword. It's a cloud sword, essentially. And it just feels so great to use. And the new monsters are all great.
I heard there's a lot more verticality in this, apparently.
Yes, that's the big thing. So, in Monster Hunter 3, they added underwater battles, which was the worst thing you could possibly do. Just because the whole way these games set up, they want you to be firmly planted on the ground so that you can use the skills, you can dodge in the way you know is right. Mm-hmm. While in water, adding that extra dimension just throws that out of loop. Especially when you're trying to hit things with swords. Slow-moving swords.
Yeah, that just messes...
Yeah, it wasn't fun. But in this one, what they've added is... They've added, like you said, verticality. A lot of stages have 2 levels to them. And monsters, as well as you can climb up and down them. And all of that is kind of around this idea of mounting. And so if you jump, either by running off a ledge or by falling off one of these second layer stages, or there's one weapon, the Insect Glaive, that one of its attacks propels you into the air. And you land on top of the monster with an attack, you have a chance of mounting it, which you get up top and you kind of stab it on the back. And it's this absolutely great mechanic. Everything about it feels really great to do. Because you have to commit to this jump, commit to the strike, hit it just the right way, and then this little cutscene happens and you're on top of the monster, and there's this little sort of almost mini game where you stab at the monster while it's not trying to throw you off, and then while it's trying to throw you off, you're trying to hold on. But if you get everything right, it topples over and it's left vulnerable for a good 5 seconds for you to just wail on it.
Nice.
And everything about the mechanic just feels so wonderful, and I love it.
That sounds like it'd be fun to do.
It is absolutely fun to do. It's even funner with friends, though, and that's one of the big things. It's a great game to play by yourself, because then you have all that sort of Dark Souls, you versus the monster, mano a mano. But then with friends, it's kind of this group effort of trying to manage this monster and move around, and one guy tries to topple while the other guy tries to pull aggro.
So how's the network? Because that's always the big...
As far as I've played, and I played with one of my best friends who I played with. I played while he was over in California, as well as I played with Canadians. I got a friend who's in Canada I played with. But yeah, I've had no network problems.
Really? That's actually really good for a 3DS game.
Yeah, for a 3DS game, it's a huge step up from Monster Hunter 3, where you only had local or the PSP version of it, where obviously you had to run ad hoc through your PlayStation. It was dumb.
Oh, speaking of, since you're playing that, you obviously have the new 3DS.
I do not have a new 3DS. I'm still playing on the old one.
Really? And how? Yeah. Apparently, with the new one, the controls, it's even better.
Yeah, so I played a little bit on a new 3DS. It feels a whole lot better. Unfortunately, I waited between either buying PS4 for Bloodborne or buying a new 3DS when I already have a 3DS.
Fair enough.
And so... hopefully in the future, maybe a price cut, maybe, something will happen where I can afford a new 3DS. Obviously, one of the big things is that I don't like the colors for the regular 3DS. So maybe a nice special edition will pull me that way, but for now, I don't want to spend the money.
Fair enough.
But yeah, so that's been all the games I played, most of them anyways. I guess I'll pass it over to you.
Alright, I've had two main games I've been messing with.
Alright.
Not sure what order you want me to do these in either.
Whatever order you feel is best.
Alright, well, I'll start with Dragon Age Inquisition.
Dragon Age Inquisition, alright.
I've been playing that. It's fun. It's actually fun again. Because Dragon Age 2 just really, really seriously turned me off the series to the point where...
Yeah, we've had this conversation. Yeah.
I didn't want to touch the series anymore. Dragon Age Inquisition is fun. It is... There's a few little things, actually, that got me about it. Okay, so now there's a jump button. You could never jump in the previous games.
Yeah.
Now there's a jump button. By default, the jump button is the space bar. Now, I'm used to tactical RPGs like that, the RPGs like that, where the space bar is pause.
Yeah.
For the first half hour, I was dying all the goddamn time because I was jumping.
I have that problem with Bloodborne. They moved a lot of controls, so in Dark Souls, you press triangle, and it swapped between one hand and two hand.
Yeah.
And this game, let's use a potion.
Oh,
so
fuck!
all the time I've used the potion. I'm like, no, switch weapons.
That would fuck me up.
As well as
so bad.
Your L1
yeah.
is to transform weapons, and I'm used to that being your L1 attack, which would be my gun. So a lot of times I'm like, shoot the gun, and instead I transform my weapon. And I just take a hit.
That sounds like it sucks terribly.
It took some getting used to. I died a couple times to that.
But yeah, after I switched the key bindings around a bit, that worked out well.
Yeah, that's a great thing about PC. Just
you
got a problem, just switch it out.
Yeah, just switch it out real fast. It's really fun. I've been having a lot of fun with it.
All right.
The game actually really doesn't start for a little bit, actually.
Well, that's common for a lot of...
Well, I mean, literally, it doesn't really start getting good, because for the first little bit, this might be a little bit of spoilers.
We're going to spoil the opening of Dark Souls Inquisition.
Dark Souls Inquisition?
Dark Souls Inquisition. That actually might be a decent game.
Yeah, that would actually be really fun if they finally gave you the multiplayer.
As long as we don't invite Namco.
But, yeah, so for the first little bit, you're in this little village near where the big rift thing is happening. And it's alright, but you have very limited places to explore. You have, like, the opening level, the opening, like, world, because it's supposedly open world, but it's just really huge levels.
Yeah.
So I don't mind that. I don't actually like honest to God open worlds, but anyway. The opening level is huge. And there are, like, beef gates where it's like, hey, you might want to come back here later, but for the average RPG player, you're going to be like, I just have to grind more.
I don't know. That's how... I actually went to the second boss instead of the first boss first in Bloodborne.
Whoops! So you ground the fuck up.
I did do a little... Well, you can't level up until after you bumped into a boss. And so I went all the way to the boss. I almost killed the guy. And because, like, I got close, like, I thought, oh, that's fine. I can just do this. And I spent, like, 4 hours getting close. One of the great things about Bloodborne, I didn't pick this up, is bosses are super dynamic. A lot of them, like, partway through the fight, like, they'll swap up their tactics entirely. And this particular boss, he's a regular human, and after you get him down to, like, a third, he transforms into this giant werewolf. And I couldn't beat the werewolf part of him.
But anyway, so after something happens, like a third of the way through the game, then it actually opens up for real, and you have a whole lot more stuff to do. And it's like, you really should have just saved the title shot for after you got this new base, after you got the Skyhold. And that would have been like the longest opening prologue, because this is where the game actually starts.
Yeah.
But another thing I actually really like, weirdly enough, is the crafting system in this game.
Alright.
Okay, so Dragon Age 1 and 2 kind of had a basic, crafting little thing. But with this game, you can make weapons and armor, and because I'm a fashion souls, the color actually changes depending on what you use.
Oh, that's cool.
So, like, one of the biggest examples is, like, a full-length mage coat, because I'm playing the mage this time. And you have, like, the coat itself, and then you have, like, the little undershirt. Now, the one I'm wearing, I didn't make, but it's really unique because it's, like, a bright blue coat and a dark, like, burgundy undershirt.
Oh, that's cool.
And then, actually, they added something for the patch where you can actually change the colors themselves just by using one of the little material items. So it's like, oh, ooh.
Yeah, that's actually really cool. RPGs, that's what we love about RPGs, being able to customize yourself, being able to play the way you want.
Oh, I forgot to ask. Can you be Simon Belmont in Bloodborne? Is there a whip yet?
I have not found a whip. I actually haven't found a whole lot of weapons. I found 2 sword-type weapons.
I saw you were
and
using
2 gun types.
a pull-on type thing.
I was using an axe that, like, it either is a one-hand... most weapons, you press your L1 and they transform.
Oh, yeah. So literally transform.
Yes, so it is either a hand axe or this...
Polearm thing.
Polearm, yeah. Halberd, I guess? A pole with an axe?
Yeah, it's a halberd.
Yeah. And then my other weapon is a long sword, more like a short sword, really. And then you transform, you carry this big, like, rock on your back, and you just stab the sword into it, and you have this giant mace, pretty much. Sledgehammer, more like. And that's cool. It's a little too slow for me.
All right. But yeah, I'm just text me when you get the weapon. Just say Simon Belmont.
I'm gonna, like, Snapchat everybody like, yeah.
But yeah, Xenoverse is not Xenoverse. Dragon Ball Inquisition is really, really fun. It's gotten me back into the game. But one of the things I appreciate the most is just some of the little pot shots it takes at the previous games. There's this one character, Iron Bull.
It's like we're playing the same game. We both had an entry we hated,
yeah,
and now we love it again, and they both took pot shots.
Well, there's this character, Iron Bull. He runs a mercenary company.
Yeah.
And he's introducing you to the guy, and he's introducing you to their medic. And he says, this guy makes its potion, gets you right back up after a battle, but it tastes terrible. The medic's like, that's because it's a poultice, sir. You're not supposed to drink it. And the thing with Dragon Age is their health potions were called poultices. They wanted to go unique, but they didn't change the animation, so it looked like you were drinking the poultice. So it's like, oh, okay, I'll take that. It was a little thing.
You know, it's the little things that really make a world feel alive.
And the other thing about it, the Dragon Age Keep. I'm not sure if you've heard about this.
No.
Okay, so there is no longer a save import, export type of thing. What they did was they created, like, this website. And they'll scan your EA account or whatever. And they'll see if you have characters. And they'll take the characters, but any choices you've made in the games, you decide that in, like, a little survey.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I've heard about this.
So you fill out the survey, and then it says, okay, we create this world state. This is the world state you want. And then you import that into the game, which I actually think is probably the most elegant way of doing that, because there have been so many difficulties with save imports and all that shit. Yeah,
that's actually... Well, one problem that does present is when you played these other games, you'd want your choices in those games to matter as you move over to this third. So for replayability, it's great, obviously, because you can just grab your character and decide, like, however you wanted it in the old game. But sort of in the same way that Mass Effect 3, all of its decisions kind of ran into a null point, I worry if this kind of, in a much smaller way...
Well, I mean, the thing is, asks a lot more questions than there are actual responses in the game. Because I've only seen, like, 3 or 4 of my choices that I've really carried over.
Yeah.
But some of the stuff that does carry over is just the smallest little stuff that just makes it feel like a living world. It makes it feel...
Yeah, and that's important, and those are kind of things that I appreciate on a game where, you know, it's existing through sequels.
Yeah.
So it sounds like they learned their lesson from Mass Effect, is what I'm trying to get.
Well,
maybe not in full, but...
Well, the thing with BioWare is that I heard somebody say it, is BioWare games have stages. Like,
yeah.
Knights of the Old Republic was the BioWare game for a couple of games, like Jade Empire, Knights of the Old Republic 2, etc. That was the template they based it on.
Yeah.
And then Mass Effect comes out, and that's the template that all the other BioWare games are going to be for a while. And now Dragon Age Inquisition comes out, and the next couple of BioWare games that come out are going to be exactly like that. You're going to have your base, you're going to be able to customize it, you're going to have your crew in the base.
Well, that's kind of like for gaming in general.
Well, BioWare is more... It's more obvious with a BioWare game, is what I'm saying. So, the other game I played, which I kind of already spoiled, was Dragon Ball Xenoverse.
Dragon Ball Xenoverse.
I got this as a gift.
I actually love the name Dragon Ball Xenoverse because it sounds like you're saying Dragon Ball Z.
No verse.
No verse. That's great. I love that.
And it's spelled with an X.
That's the part that I always like, oh, it's not a Z, but it's still Dragon Ball Z universe.
Okay, so...
It's the little things.
Okay, so what this game is... Okay, there was a Dragon Ball Online game in Korea.
Yeah.
That unfortunately failed before it could get over here. So what they did was they took a bunch of the art assets...
Yeah, a bunch of the art assets.
A bunch of the art assets, some of the characters, and, like, some of the plot a little bit.
Yeah, from what I heard, they sort of almost ripped it.
They did rip it, but it's a good rip.
Yeah, no, it was not in bad faith. They took the good parts.
Yeah, they literally, because I never played the online game, but apparently...
None of us have played
apparently the combat...
Korean online.
Apparently the combat in the online game was fucking atrocious, and they seriously improved it.
Yeah.
So, okay, so how much Dragon Ball Z lore do you know?
I know quite a bit.
Okay, so Future Trunks.
Yes.
Is working for the Time Cops now.
Yes.
Okay, so he wishes for, on the Dragon Balls, he wishes for a warrior to help him save time.
Yeah, because there's, I guess, their new character.
Their new characters.
Their new character wants to disrupt the Dragon Ball Z timeline.
They want to steal energy.
Yeah, and so they want to, do the bad thing.
They want to do the bad thing.
And so it's up to you and your original character do not steal.
Yes, you are original character, do not steal. Now, I will say this. If making original characters in Dragon Ball is wrong, I don't want to be right.
No, that is the greatest thing. Like, that is... Being able to do that shows how much they know their fan base.
Well, their fan base is our age now. And you know what? Everybody who watched Dragon Ball Z for the first time, or Dragon Ball, or whatever, they had their own original character.
Yeah, we all spent our days in the playground just being like, look guys, I can go Super Saiyan 3.
Oh yeah, well, blah, blah, blah.
Hey, I heard there's a Super Saiyan 12. What?
But yes, you can either make a human or a Saiyan, obviously.
Yeah, it's human, Saiyan, Piccolo, Namekian.
Namekian.
Right? A Frieza person. They don't really have a race for those.
They call them... My friend who has the game is calling them Frost Demons. Like
Frost Demons.
Well, that's what Cell called them.
So,
and
then... Majin.
Majin.
But yeah,
you can only be male for the Frieza people and the Namekians, which, actual lore, holy shit.
Yeah. I know, right?
But the customization options are actually fairly decent for a game like that.
They're pretty extensive. They went out of their way so you could be original character, do not steal.
But actually, okay, we looked something up. The creepiest shit. Okay.
I'm not sure if I want to know now.
Okay, so you're wondering to yourself, hey, how can there be multiple Majins?
Yes.
Okay, so this is apparently still canon. Majin Buu was looking at Mr. Hercule's stuff, Mr. Sane's stuff.
Yes.
He finds a book. A very interesting book. He finds a porno.
He found Mr. Hercule's secret stash.
There's probably still a flyleaf saying this book belongs to Master Roshi in there. So Majin looks at it and is like, you know what? I want a wife. So he rips a chunk out of himself, like with Evil Boo, like he
Yeah.
does that and makes Mrs. Boo. So they're happy for a while, but then they look at the book again and decide, you know what, we want to make a kid.
And thus the Majin race was born.
So they literally rip chunks out of themselves and hit it with a love beam. I swear to God, I'm not making this
I
up.
love the Majin so much. They're so ridiculous.
I'm just surprised anybody can take Dragon Ball Z seriously.
Was it ever, like, meant to be taken completely seriously? Like, obviously, you know, the fights were meant to be taken pretty seriously. But when it comes from Dragon Ball, which was this pure gag series...
Well, let's put it this way: in the latest movie the newest movie that is not released, that has been released, not Frieza, but the newest one.
That one hasn't been released, I don't think, yet.
Yeah, the God one, the one where
so
Goku
Battle of the Gods,
where Goku becomes a god. The whole premise behind that is the God of Destruction wants to destroy Earth because Boo wouldn't fucking share his pudding. Because Boo was a fat ass and didn't share, the world was going to be destroyed.
Like, it's not even that. Like, 90% of that movie is Vegeta trying to make Birazu, like, not upset so he won't destroy the world. And so you see Vegeta, the proudest Saiyan, just going on, oh yes, Mr. Bills, oh yes, you can have whatever you want. And just, like, being insulted and, like, internally, like, holding it. And it's just comedy, and it's great.
But, yeah, so... the game is... I don't know. It's not a AAA game. It's like a AA game, because...
Yeah, well, I've heard they've had, at the start, like, they had a lot of issues in development.
Okay, let's put it... well, at the start, let's get this out of the way first. The server, for the first month,
yeah, so...
you needed a Dragon Ball Wish to get that fucking thing up. Actually,
yeah, that was a big issue I remember seeing.
The game itself is basically just AU battles, like what would happen if, like...
Well, that's the whole premise of it.
Yeah,
is,
well...
you know, kind of, time's out of whack. We can do whatever we want now.
And some of the stuff they do is really fun. Okay, so, remember when Goku comes back the first time and he confronts Vegeta and Nappa, right?
Yes.
Well, in this version, he doesn't get back in time. Vegeta and Nappa kill everybody, and when Goku finally gets there, they're in Grade 8 form. Like, literally, they're standing over there, and Vegeta's like, "Oh, you just revived as well." Bitch slap Goku. And that's like, holy shit, that's awesome! You can, oh my god! And that battle is actually really fun, because you can fight Vegeta
and Nappa.
No, just Vegeta in 8 form. Nappa's not really all that bad, actually.
Nappa was never really all that bad.
Well, neither was Radish Head, so...
Radish Head. I love the naming conventions for Dragon Ball. Because he literally just kind of like looked around the room and was like, oh, there's a vegetable. I'm going to name these guys after vegetables from now on.
And they were in my freezer. They work for a guy named Freezer.
Ah, like that's literally how he came up with all the names for everything.
But actually, a friend of mine were having a discussion. If you're going to play a Saiyan, you have to have a vegetable pun in your name.
That's so true.
Because he's playing a female Saiyan named Apple. And
that's a fruit.
Yes, that is a fruit. I'm playing a human named Benedict.
Cumberbatch?
No, eggs. But yeah, you get to do... And the other good fun thing is the clothing. There's a whole bunch of different types of clothing.
Yeah, like from what I've seen, considering the development of this game, considering how it came out, it's actually a really strong title.
It's actually really fun. Just wait for it to get cheaper, is the thing I'd say.
Yeah, from what I've heard, I guess they fixed most of their server issues.
Oh, yes, they did.
I remember when it first came out, like, that kind of shooed me away from it.
You actually probably wouldn't like this game because it is literally a single-player MMO. And you will be grinding for items that you want.
Well, that's different. That's kind of... Because in Monster Hunter, it's sort of the same way. Like, you'll fight the same monster 100 times over, trying to get that one item, so you can upgrade that one sword, so you can fight that same monster a little bit faster.
Well, that's actually literally what it is, but there are so many fun moves in this game. Because you can do the Destructo disc, you can do...
Oh yeah, they've got like pretty much everything.
Actually,
you might have heard they were pretty comprehensive with this game, and they did a spot-on job.
Actually, my favorite thing to do is... Okay, the Destructo disc, this is going to get into mechanics, but the Destructo disc is a slow-moving homing projectile, right?
Yeah.
But it's unblockable, so I use it as a guard break. I throw it at somebody I'm getting close to, and then I start punching the shit out of them. But yeah, it's so much fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's actually get into the news.
So that's the games we've been playing. We got some topics we want to go over.
So do you want the good news or the bad news first?
Let's just take it from the top.
Top is bad news.
So bad news it is.
Okay, so you remember you were talking about PT?
I was talking about PT,
and and how that basically is like Kojima and Del Toro getting together and being like, "Ooh, let's make a scary game."
Yep.
Not anymore. Kojima is leaving Konami.
Yes.
Completely.
So,
that just... I was looking into some of that before I came over, and it just... At first it was like, okay, we're renaming the studio, they're becoming contract workers. No, he's leaving. As soon as Metal Gear Solid 5 is out, it seems like...
That's what I've been hearing. Metal Gear Solid 5 is going to be his final work, finally, because I don't know if you've known, ever since Metal Gear Solid 2,
I saw a great GIF.
Done with the series.
I saw a great GIF where they put him in the role of Undertaker. So Metal Gear Solid 3 will be the first one, and then Undertaker, like, pops out of the coffin. No!
But yeah, Kojima, I'm actually a little sad to see
No,
Kojima.
you know what they're doing, though? You know what's really weird? Is they're taking his name off of everything he's done.
Really?
Yes, they're like chiseling out his name. You know how in ancient Roman times they would chisel your name out if you did something terrible? That's what they're doing. They're chiseling his name out of the stuff. It's like, holy shit.
I'm actually a little curious as to what prompted the move, because I haven't really read too much into it.
From what I've seen, it's very much a Japanese style top-down decision where they were thinking Kojima was getting too big for his britches.
Yeah.
Because okay, here's the great part. This is like I said, this is very top-down. Pretty much every other Konami company across, like the Konami company or whatever production house across the world is disagreeing with this. Because Konami South America, they put out a tweet. Well, we know who the real big boss is now. It's like, okay.
I think this could actually be a good move for Mr. Kojima, because I would love to see him get picked up by a Western studio, just because of his love for Western theming and Western movies. And,
I actually think that would be a terrible move, because Kojima is very much an Eastern developer. He is... one of the reasons he made Metal Gear Solid 5, Ground Zeroes, not the Phantom, but that little short demo everyone, the only reason he wanted to put that out there instead of keeping it part of Ground Zeroes or Phantom Pain, gets confusing. The only reason was because he wanted a high fidelity Japanese game on the market to show that Japanese game developers were still the real deal. Well, yes, exactly. So
he has a lot of pride in his Eastern heritage, but I think under a Western studio with the Western ideas and like a nice being able to free roam a little bit would be a good move for him.
I honestly don't think so, because, like I said, he's a very Eastern developer, right? So Eastern developers are they have directors. It's like director.
Well, that's what Kojima was. He was a director.
No, but I mean literally, it's Kojima or Miyamoto or somebody like that. Western games are made by committee. They're not... You don't... Think of a Western developer. Can you think of a single Western developer just off the top of your head?
Gabe Newell.
And that's about it.
There are more. But mostly Western, they kind of focus on the studio.
Yeah, it's the studio type of thing. It's committee. And there are good sides and there's ups and downs to both of them.
Yeah.
But I don't think Kojima would be very happy under a Western style.
Well, I think knowing where he's from, and being able to be put in charge of a game the way he wants to be, would be a huge... Because one of the biggest challenges that separates the Eastern mindset and the Western mindset is the Eastern mindset is it's done when it's done. And the Western mindset is this was supposed to be done 5 days ago.
Well, true.
That's why we have a lot more Western games that are buggy and itchy, but a lot more Japanese games that are just in development hell.
You know what? How about we just let him be picked up by Platinum?
Platinum. That would be the greatest thing ever.
Just
and they could do it. They already worked with him for
exactly. So just
Raiden.
So just send Kojima over to Platinum and just watch the money.
That would be the greatest thing. But I'd love to see him picked up by a studio who cares about him a little more.
Speaking of studios doing weird things, Nintendo is making mobile games.
Yes.
Now.
So this is a big issue.
Well, it's not just that. In that same press conference, they announced their new console.
Well, they said that they're making one. Is about as far as...
Well, they said they had a prototype, which everybody knew they were making a new one.
Yeah. Well, we all kind of know they're in working, but it feels kind of weird for them to jump out at that now. Like, I know why they said they have a new prototype, to kind of, like, cool everyone down. Like, hey, we're going to enter the smartphone market.
But we're not.
But... be cool. We're also got this new console coming. You know, we're still.
We're not going Sega. We're not actually completely dying.
Yeah.
Poor
Sega.
Well, I actually saw some like 8chan and 2chan comments that were basically like Sega was already dead.
Sega was already dead.
But
like their big thing, Sonic the Hedgehog, was just kind of like he hasn't had a good game since Sonic the Hedgehog.
Sonic Generations wasn't that bad.
Yeah, like, Sonic Generations was supposed to be its crowning achievement, and it was going to bring back the series, and then they made... what exactly? Like, we all know their last sort of game was a licensed property that they didn't even make, that was just absolutely terrible, you know, Lost Worlds. That was literally worse than 06. How do you... stoop that low for a second time?
I'm just surprised the cartoon is as good as it is.
Well, I think it's a lot easier to make a cartoon than it is
also
for Sega to make a video game.
Well, also Sonic Team has nothing to do with the cartoon either.
Yeah, like it's why like the Archie comics are great, but Sonic in-game lore is just stupid.
Anyway, back to
but yeah,
Nintendo.
so Nintendo.
Actually, what I read, and this actually is making a lot more sense to me, is that Nintendo, they tried to capture the casual people with the Wii, and that didn't really work. So what they're doing is they're actually going a step further. They're saying, okay, we're going to make brand new properties. We're not using any of our console stuff, so that immediately is a load off my mind. So we're not going to have a Mario with a 99-cent mushroom button. Yeah,
that's the one thing that I was kind of worried about, because I know when they did announce it, they said that they were going to leverage their franchises, was the term they used, to enter into the mobile market.
Well, that was apparently a mistranslation.
So
they're...
But yeah, that would be a nice way to jump in. Like, I don't mind them making a separate studio where, you know, they actually found another route to make money and they jump on it.
They actually aren't making a separate studio. They bought 10% of DNA, which is like the fifth largest Japanese mobile company.
Yeah, I've heard this too. They basically bought out a pretty reliable mobile company for making.
Well, they didn't
games.
buy it out; they bought 10%, which means technically Sony owns a bit of Nintendo now. God. Anyway, point is, they are actually what they're going to do is they're going to kind of make almost tie-in games. When there's a big console release, they're going to make a game similar to it on the mobile, and they're going to be like at the end of the game, they're going to be like, "Hey guys, did you like this game?" Well, yeah, I played it. Well, if you like this game, why don't you try
the real game?
The real version of it. Which, you know...
That's also something that kind of feels shallow, because that's kind of like... that feels like, movie games, like licensed games where, like, hey, we're making a big movie, we should also have a video game for it. You, studio, crap one out for us.
Well,
and that's how you get shovelware.
I trust Nintendo enough not to do that, and besides, it's not like they're making a movie and then coming out with a game. It's they're making a game and they're making another game.
Well, my worry here is that because the mobile market is just so drastically different in terms of games than the console market or like the PC market or even the handheld market, that in order to jump into them, they're going to have to make very un-Nintendo-like concessions to be profitable.
They might make
because like I know the big issue in mobile is that you can't just make a game for $10 and expect it to sell on the mobile market because nobody wants to buy a $10 upfront fee. Instead, they want to pick up the game for free, play it for an hour, and then be nickeled and dimed to $20.
Well, I'm a bit more confident now in Nintendo, but there was something else Nintendo did recently that actually kind of improved my mood. Oh, yeah. So, Nintendo has come out and said that the Netflix live-action Legend of Zelda thing was half of the information in that article is wrong.
Yeah.
They didn't say which half. They didn't say what pieces were wrong. But it's probably not going to be live action. Might be on Netflix. Might be Legend of Zelda. Probably not live action, which is really encouraging.
Yes. Honestly, they should just remake the old cartoons. Excuse me, princess. Just bring that link back. I'd watch it.
Speaking of that, I actually watched Dragon Ball Z for the first time. I know we were talking about how everybody had their Dragon Ball Z OC Do Not Steal, but I never watched it as a kid.
How did you miss Dragon Ball Z?
I didn't like it as a kid.
Fair enough.
I mean, I thought it was stupid animation and it was dumb.
There are a lot of shows that I feel that way about. That now that I'm older, I'm like, this is the best thing ever.
So basically, it's like the 90s all over again. I'm watching Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball Z.
Oh man, Sailor Moon was another series that I did not appreciate at all as a kid.
Well, that was because the
for
dub
obvious reasons
was incredibly stupid.
One, when you're 10 years old, Sailor Moon's for kids or for girls.
Yeah, and two, the dub just did not do itself any favors.
Well, when you're a kid, you don't really care too much about the dub.
Well, you really don't, but the voices, you care about the voices, and the voices just weren't good.
Well, I remember, like, a lot of shows that I watched as a kid. When I turned, like, high school age, early college age, I went back and rewatched a lot. I'm like, how did I ever like this?
Yeah, really.
This is the worst. And there are a lot of shows that I hated as a kid because they were just too complex for me at the time. Mm-hmm. That, like, I went back and watched, like, Zoids was one of them, the original Zoids. That, like, as a kid, I was like, this is dumb. And then as I got older, I went back and watched it. I was like, oh, this is fantastic.
Well, there are a few of those shows that actually hold up both ways. Like Reboot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there are tons of...
fucking awesome.
Samurai Jack.
Holy shit.
Still blows me away that they could take a show that is so incredibly slow, but with these little bursts of hot action, and make that work.
You only remember the hot action as a kid.
No, like, even as a kid, like, that sort of, like, that build-up, that kind of, like, him sitting around and just being really kind of zen.
And another thing you appreciate...
made us appreciate that cha-cha-cha-cha moment.
Actually, the other thing is, when you get older, you appreciate the art more, because remember that episode where it was just, like, black and white completely?
Oh, yeah.
That was fucking... godlike.
Yeah, there were so many great things about Samurai Jack, and I'm sad there will never be a movie because the voice of Aku is dead.
Yes, that is. What were we talking about originally?
Dragon Ball. You just started watching.
I just started watching it, and okay, so I saw a comparison video of like the various dubs. Okay, so there's like 4 or 5 dubs.
There are quite a few dubs.
You have the original Ocean dub.
Yes. That was the Canadian one, right?
I can't remember, actually. Yeah, I think that was a Canadian company.
Yeah.
You have the newer Funimation dub. You have the Dragon Ball Z Kai dub.
Yes.
And you have the Dragon Ball Z Kai cut for TV dub.
Yes.
Okay, so the scene in question was, you know the scene.
This is over 9,000?
Yes, it was.
Yes.
It is the over 9,000. So you have the original Ocean dub, which is the best.
Yes,
over
the one that made it popular.
The one that made it. Then you have the Funimation dub, which is it's a bit subtler. He's not nearly as 9,000. It's 9,000 crush.
Yeah,
which works. Then you have the Kai dub. Now, Dragon Ball Z Kai, does a great many things.
Yes.
It cuts out the filler by like 25%.
Well, that was the whole point of Dragon Ball Kai. They were like, you know what? We can remake the show now that, we can have it without being held back by the manga. Because when Dragon Ball anime was coming out, they had to follow the manga, and the manga wasn't always up to date. And so they had to kind of stretch it a little bit. And at the time, that sort of stretched aesthetic was a little bit more appreciated.
Well, I still actually kind of like filler.
But yeah, so they went back and remade Kai. They touched up everything. And they cut out
basically all the
most
filler.
of the
But you see, here's the thing. I really like filler episodes in anime. Because if it's a good anime, like Sailor Moon or Dragon Ball Z, you get actual character development.
Yeah.
And they cut the best Dragon Ball Z filler episode ever.
Piccolo Learns to Drive?
Yes! They cut that.
Wasn't that, not even a real episode? That was, an American-made episode.
No, that was a real episode.
Part of a promotion, I thought.
No, that was a real, honest-to-God episode.
I thought it was part of a promotion.
No,
because it was, a little 5-minute thing.
No, this was a full-length episode.
Oh, my gosh.
Piccolo and Goku learn to drive. This was a full-length, honest-to-God episode. I actually have it up on my Tumblr. I will show you.
No, I remember Piccolo and Goku learn to drive. It was the dumbest thing. It was the greatest thing.
No, it is the greatest thing. And they cut it. And you know what else they did? They made the translation more accurate.
Yes.
So it's not over 9,000 anymore.
It's over 8,000.
Bullshit!
So
even the Nickelodeon dub, even the Nickelodeon Kai dub, which cuts a lot of the violence and cuts all this stuff, they redubbed it to make it over 9,000. And it is the second best version since the Ocean.
I don't actually mind over 8,000.
No, you have no soul. It is
because over 9,000 was a time and a place and a particular dub.
It was a time and a place. And
but now everyone knows that it's supposed to be over 8,000.
No, I didn't know that. I watched that comparison and I was like, what the fuck is wrong with this dub?
See, one of the problems is you didn't grow up with over 9,000. So we went through the 12 million, stupid Facebook things you didn't know. It's actually over 8,000. And so we all kind of know at this point. You didn't know.
I don't care. It has to be over 9,000. Fuck the dub. 0 out of 10 will not
0
watch.
out of 10. I do know there was a lot of heart and soul that went into the Ocean dub.
Yeah.
Because that's the one where the guy, I think passed out his screams.
It was that one.
There was so much energy that went into that dub. That just makes it so great.
And Dragon Ball Z is actually one of those rare examples of an early 90s dub that is actually better than the sub.
Oh, yeah.
Because Goku's 90-year-old grandmother voice.
Well, it's something you have to, get used to.
It's not something... You can get used to it,
because I see them very differently. Because there's the dubbed version of the show, and there's the original, and they all have their quirks. I'll always prefer the dub. That's what I grew up on. That's one of the few shows where I will always prefer the dub to the original
well, it's
audio.
like with Sailor Moon, I have to watch the original audio because...
Oh, yeah, because all the translations are bad. Nobody has gotten that right.
Actually, they did. They're making a new dub as we speak. They've got the first season finished.
Do you know who's making it? Because if it's Funimation, they promised us HD Dragon Ball Z, and they butchered it.
Here, let me Google this real fast. Let me look this up. Let's see. This is making for good audio.
Sailor Moon's one word.
I don't care. It's Viz, isn't it?
Viz? They're
Yes.
still around?
Yes, they're still around and they're making the dub. And I had my litmus test because there's a scene in the original anime in the first season when they introduce Sailor Mars,
Yes.
and Sailor Moon says, "So that's a shrine maiden. I wouldn't mind doing that part time." And everybody's looking at her like, "What the fuck?" And I looked, and they kept it. They kept that scene, and they kept the inflection, and it was perfect.
I know, one of the things for me, I have an appreciation for both those kind of goofy things added into translations, as well as an appreciation for less liberal translations. So I kind of see...
Spoony Bard.
Yeah, so I always feel there should be both, because there are definitely shows that are just so horrendous.
Actually, I heard
the goofiness, and then there are other shows where when you add that kind of stuff in,
it takes it away.
It takes it away a little bit.
I actually was listening to something recently that talked about it's like a scale. On the far left, you have something like
Dub, thanks for the grub.
Yes.
And on the far right, it's itadakimasu, untranslated.
No, it's on the far right. It's all according to Keikaku. The translators know Keikaku means plan.
Oh god, though there are some translations that just need to die, and those are the ones that don't even translate.
They transliterate, is what they do. They don't actually translate. So you want something
like any show where all the translation takes place in the translation notes, you've done something wrong.
So you have to.
I'm looking at you, old Transformers dub.
You have to go. There's a far. You have to be somewhere in the middle. Persona is kind of weird because it's in English, but they keep the senpai and the chans.
Yeah.
But that's because the movie is just the game movie show. The game is so Japanese that taking those out would would basically be like eat your hamburgers, Apollo. That is still the best comic.
Eat your hamburgers, Apollo. It's a jelly donut.
Ah, the wonderful San Francisco in America. Eat your fucking hamburgers, Apollo.
That was
Awkward Zombie.
Awkward Zombie.
If you don't know what we're talking
Kate, someone.
just Google Awkward Zombie.
Yeah, Awkward Zombie.
And eat your hamburgers.
You should probably check out most of her work.
Yeah,
it's actually really good.
It's really good, but
one of the things I like about keeping the sans, because normally I don't like those kind of things when we're going into a translation, but when the setting is supposed to take place in Japan, I actually like a lot more of those Japan-isms.
yeah.
Like, one of the games I have, Akiba's Strip, it has one character, your little sister, and she refers to you in the Japanese audio, of course, by Oni-chan.
Yeah, obviously.
In the American dub, they don't really know what to do with that, so they made all these bro puns.
Well, actually, that's another thing about Persona, because, like, in the original Japanese, Teddy was kumaing all over the goddamn place.
Yeah.
So how do you do that better?
And they did bear puns.
They did bear puns, which...
And that worked great, but...
And then Nanako's Big Bro, which is still the most fucking adorable.
Yeah. And I love that, because, you know, for me, watching that, like, I could tell every time she said Big Bro, that was Oni-chan. But in Akiba's Strip, they add all these bro puns, so, like, she'll say instead of Oni-chan, or Big Brother, or something that would make sense, she's like, Bro-tato, Brotagonist, Bro-to-do. I'm like, stop that. That's completely out of character.
That even just hearing those hurts.
I know, and it's just like, oh my god, please make it stop.
Oh, speaking of anime, this is the next item on our docket.
Alright, let's get into it then.
One Punch Man is getting an anime.
Yes. One Punch is actually a really curious series because it's 2 separate mangas.
It's a webcomic. It just started as a webcomic almost.
Yeah. Well, it started as the original one, done by One, who's the creator of it.
And it's basically just the story about this hero who is
it's
so
a story
strong,
about an overpowered character, but it's played for laughs.
who is so strong that doesn't matter what it is, he kills it in one punch, and he's frustrated because nothing is a challenge.
Yeah, and it's played for laughs, and it's played in all the right tones, and it's a wonderful series. But in the original series, the creator of it, One, he can't draw.
No, he drew stick figures
He
exploding.
drew the most, and it works perfectly because his dumb expressions just jump out so much more when the art is absolutely terrible.
So when it got an official manga,
Because One of it's popular, there was another an actual artist, Murata, I think his name was. This guy can draw.
oh holy shit, can he draw?
Oh
It's
my god, this
amazing.
guy can draw, this guy can do so much. Like, there are certain chapters where he plays the whole thing out, but in almost like flip book formula, where like if you were to take the pages and run them like frame by frame, it's an animation.
But it still keeps occasionally.
But it still works within the series of an actual book form, and it's so beautiful. And it adds so much life.
In the art itself, there's the occasional like little bit where it goes back to this stupid.
Oh yeah, the main character, One Punch Man, he always has this dumb look on his face that's kind of improperly drawn, is what I'll say. In the fact that it never looks like it has the same level of detail as the rest of the characters, and it's done as a gag, and it works every time. Because like all these characters will be super serious and be like, "What do you think, One Punch Man?"
Stylized.
And then he'll turn to them with this dumb looking face and be like, "I'm hungry," or something stupid.
Can we just go now? I punched him like half an hour ago, and he's and he's still raining.
Like they're all like, "You have to go defeat the thing," and he just turns around, "Okay," and he just does it, and it's great.
It's great.
Because it's this giant build, and you're just waiting for the point where he will finally get right up to the enemy he's trying to fight.
And the enemy is monologuing. And the enemy, like, the first enemy is, like, completely monologuing.
Yeah, like, they'll give this big monologue, and all the other characters will have gotten, like, their ass kicked by this guy.
And they're doing the dramatic close-up of the faces.
Yeah, and they're, like, running it, like, full, like, Dragon Ball Z Naruto, and he just walks up and is like, pow!
And then it explodes!
And then it's done! Like, there was this great scene, and Murata, when he drew it, he actually redrew it, to make it better, and that's one of the things I love about Murata. Like, he takes this very seriously.
You have to take it seriously.
But it's this one great scene where one of my favorite characters, licenseless writer. There's a bunch of heroes essentially, and they show up and they have their own organization, and most of them have goofy names. And so this one hero's name is Licenseless Writer.
Not a Common Rider ripoff whatsoever.
And so he shows up, and like he's a weak hero, and he like stands up to it, and he's like, "As long as I'm a hero, I'll never lose." And then like the big giant like
monster
just like beats him, and One Punch Man just like, "It's okay." And he walks up to him and gives him one solid punch, as is the theme. And originally he had it so that the punch looked like it just goes straight through him. And it was really great, but then Murata changed it so that it's this wide-angle shot where you just see the punch and the shockwave like pulling out of it, and it's just so incredibly intense. Check it out.
But my favorite bit is when the enemies just explode. There's just ludicrous gives from like the weakest punches. He goes like kind of pat, and then
yeah, like there'll be like these smaller enemies who come up to him and he'll just kind of like tap them and they'll just fly away in a burning inferno.
It's amazing, and I saw the trailer for the anime, and they keep both the super awesome art and the dumb, and at the end it's a dumb stick figure.
They're doing it great. I love it. I'm ready for it. One Punch Man.
We love you.
I can't wait. I'm super excited. It is like beyond just the art styles. It is a fantastic story. Everything's well done. One should be commended. Murata should be commended. Hopefully, the studio that makes the anime will be commended.
Hopefully. Madhouse is doing it.
They're normally pretty good.
Yeah.
It could be, Karen Gynex who does it, and that would just be terrible.
Studio Trigger could do it.
I would love for Studio Trigger to do it. I'm thinking of other studios I really... Kyoan finds a way.
Okay, so the last thing on our docket to talk about, this isn't any in real order, and I can't think of a good segue for it. Persona 5 gameplay trailer.
Persona 5 gameplay trailer. So we gone into this a little bit.
Okay, so I think I need to set this up. So we see the announcement trailer.
Yes.
And it's a red screen with these black chairs, and there's leg weights attached to them, and I'm thinking to myself, this is going to be the most angsty shit since Persona 3.
I actually saw that, and I think the trailer was had a line
you are slave, want emancipation.
Yeah, and the announcement was it's all going to be about liberating ourselves from society. And I actually thought it was going to be about adults in this case. It was going to be about, because Japan has a really big problem with basically
salarymen
just being bored shitless.
That brings up a point. I was watching the original Shall We Dance?
Yes.
And the first 20 minutes of that is just him going about his day life, and holy shit, that is the most boring ass. It makes me so glad I'm not Japanese. Because it's oh my god, how do you live? But, so then the gameplay trailer comes out.
Yes, so we had our expectations, and then before the gameplay we had the E3 little trailer that just kind of showed, the main character on the subway.
Yeah.
And it showed, at the time, I think fans called him Harry Potter-kun or something.
Yeah, because he looks like Harry Potter.
And then, it's
and we're thinking, and that just reaffirms it. Oh my god, it's going to be
it's
so emo.
It's going to be high schoolers again. And I thought it was going to be the exact same as Persona 3 and Persona 4, just in a new coat of paint.
It's going to be in Japan. It's actually going to be in Tokyo for real now. It's not like a fake place. So
Which is a big deal in SMT games.
Yeah, really, seriously.
Tokyo's kind of the epicenter for when shit goes down.
Tokyo gets nuked a lot.
It's not that it gets nuked.
It gets nuked in SMT1. It literally nuked in SMT1. It doesn't exist in SMT2. SMT3 gets, erased.
No. It always gets eradicated. It only got nuked once.
Only once! Well, no, it got nuked in SMT4 as well.
No, it got attacked by missiles. Subtly different.
Oh, yes. And those
long story short, in Tokyo, in the SMT, shit's gonna die.
Yes, it is. So the fact that it's... So we see it, and I'm looking at it.
But this is a Persona game. This isn't an SMT.
Yeah.
But obviously, same company, they have an affirmation. And one of the big things I noticed is that you're not fighting shadows. You're fighting...
What doesn't look like shadows?
Yeah, well, you're fighting actual personae, or it might be demons, because these are the traditional characters that you would summon in Persona, or in SMT would be demons.
Well, here let's go back to the beginning. So I'm watching the trailer, and it's this guy running across a rooftop.
Yes.
And he's running through a casino, and he jumps out a window, and he does this super stylish spiral.
Oh, yeah.
And it's wait, this isn't emo.
Yeah, I know. That was one of because when the I guess I'll call it the Subway trailer, the E3 trailer came out, and it was just Harry Potter-kun. It was oh look, it's the angsty protagonist. He's gonna be like everybody else. And I thought it was going to be, a clone of Persona 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Now angstier because of the we're gonna break free of society.
LOL, nope.
Nope. Then the gameplay trailer comes out, and like he said, first thing right off the bat, these guys are freaking ninja thieves, and they're having fun. they're never not smiling. It's great. It's magical.
Cat burgling.
They're cat burglars. They have a cat that's a burglar.
Literally.
Literally.
It's like, holy shit, this game is so much more active and alive.
And no, the thing that really blew me away, though, was the dungeon segment where they showed him moving through the dungeon dynamically. They had him on top of these, like, chandeliers, and they had him, like, kind of evading through, like, finding cover. And it makes me sort of, like, wonder, because in the original Persona 3 and 4, like, the shadows would be kind of on the floor.
Randomly generated.
Yeah, it'd be randomly generated. The shadows would kind of be on the floor.
They actually did confirm there will be a few randomly generated dungeons, but most of them are going to be designed, which means you get to do a lot more fun shit with them.
So there's going to be some level design to these. And yeah, like, one of the things, though, is the shadows just kind of be on the ground. You walk up to them, you hit them, and then you fight. And this one, it looks like there may be sort of a more...
Stealthy.
I'm wondering if they're taking a hint from Eldrin Odyssey and making sort of an FOE type characters.
Maybe, but you know what the big thing is, though?
Yes.
The big thing is that I'm hoping for, like, a heist system.
Yeah.
Because my theory is
I assume, like, what we're going to be doing is trying to steal something.
Well, here's my theory, is that, okay, in the trailer, there's this subway driver who gets, like, this weird, like, mannequin face, and he's driving crazy, and I get the feeling like what I'm thinking is happening is, like, their individuality or their sense of self or whatever gets stolen, and you're there to steal it back and give it to them. So I'm hoping, like, maybe kind of a heist style.
Well, one of the things, I'm not sure if these guys are going to be as heroic as in the last game.
And they did confirm that they're going to be heroic.
Alright, did they?
Yes, they did.
Because one of the things they showed a lot more, I know in the Velvet Room this time is they had him in a jail cell, which is a curious little...
and the twin...
Yeah, the twin Margarets or Elizabeth.
Or whatever their names are.
Yeah, whatever their new names will be.
And Igor's looking fucking creepy.
I don't know what they're going to do, because didn't Igor's voice actor die?
His Japanese voice actor died.
But I like Japanese.
So, you're shit out of luck then. I really liked Igor's American voice.
Yeah, he had a really good voice. But one of the things... like I said, you saw them fighting demons or personae instead of shadows, which I don't know if that's just because, we're on PS4 now. We can actually make more than just palette swaps.
I think it's because we're on PS4 and 3.
I'm hoping it's because we're on PS4 now.
And...
Which is, it's also on PS3, but the PS4 will be a 2-generation step up since... Persona 3 and 4.
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm assuming this game was designed for the PS3.
It was.
And that the PS4 is going to be a little HD kind of bump up in textures. I don't know to what degree they will be.
The other thing in the trailer itself was they just showed the pause menu and the shops.
Oh, God. Those pause menus.
Those pause menus were beautiful.
Those little touches.
And your game is amazing when you can just show the pause menus and everybody freaks the fuck out.
Like, when you have enough time to create those kind of pause menus, like, you've got some nice things going on there.
Actually, the other thing is that showing off the pause menu is actually kind of a good thing because... Okay, you're playing an RPG. You're going to be spending a lot of time in that pause menu.
Yeah.
You're going to be changing equipment out. You're going to be doing this. You're going to be doing that. If you're an RPG and your pause menu is just... Like, Skyrim's pause menu was just kind of...
Oh, God, that was atrocious.
That little black screen.
Scroll through all the things.
If that's your pause menu, that's not really exciting. But their pause menu is dynamic and it's fun and you've got... Like, the guy, your weapons shop is like this old grizzled dude with the cigarette.
Well, Persona 3 and 4 had really nice pause menus, too. They had a lot of, like, color and pop, and they felt really good. But these ones look like some next-gen shit going on here. Like, we're on PS4 now. Our pause menus do things.
And actually, did you see the lady who sells you like the medical equipment?
Yeah, where she kind of like crosses her legs.
She's like she's like the Catherine kind of. Oh, do you want something? Oh, I guess. And actually,
this game is worth getting excited over.
They did actually announce the name of the new Persona.
Did they?
Yes. And I'm not surprised anymore. It's Arsene.
Alright.
And you know what else has that name?
Lupin.
Yes, Arsene Lupin.
So.
They're making a Lupin the third game.
Well, you gotta remember...
no, literally, they said that was their direct inspiration.
Yeah. No, in Japan, Lupin the Third is a big deal.
I have actually never seen a Lupin the Third ever. I know it exists. I know it's about a thief, and... You
should kill yourself.
I know it's based on a French novel.
You guys on the other side of this mic, on the other side of this YouTube video, you're doing this too, alright? You're gonna go and you're gonna watch Lupin movies. I would start with the Castle of Caligro and just go from there. And they are all magical and they are all wonderful and you will love them to death. I promise.
Really?
Lupin is so great.
So yes, that's...
there's a reason it has lasted as long as it has and inspired as much as it has.
So they're basically not even pretending like it's not a Lupin game at this point.
Yeah, well... If I get what I assume, they're not going to have it be Lupin the Third be the persona. It's going to be actual Lupin Arsene, which was
a French character,
a French novel character around the same time as Sherlock Holmes.
Yes, they actually did. That was actually like a big crossover. Where
well, the greatest thing is they made the crossover, but they didn't have permission to use Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, they did. Oh no,
so they had to rename him instead of Sherlock Holmes. It's Herlock Sholmes.
Oh my god, really?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that is the greatest.
And then they just kept making more Herlock Sholmes crossovers.
Oh, that is the greatest.
He stole Sherlock Holmes. Arsene Lupin, everybody. But yeah, they were incredibly popular books. And actually, that's one reason Lupin can't exist. Lupin the Third isn't allowed in France. Because they never got the rights for Arsene Lupin.
Oh, yeah. Wow, this is...
So in France, Lupin the Third, they have to rename him or something to...
I don't know, whatever the French...
And how do you rename Arsene Lupin? Like, his whole backstory is he was the grandson of... It's ridiculous. It's great. It's great, though.
I mean, you could say he's the grandson of a famous thief.
Yeah, well, that's what they kind of have to do. They play it off, but he's the grandson of Arsene Lupin. He's Lupin the Third.
Oh wow, that's... Oh wow.
I love the guy who made him. His name's Monkey Punch. But no.
Does he like strangling chickens as well?
But no, you should check out Lupin movies. I recommend starting with the Castle of Caligro, or however you say it. Just Google Lupin the Third, Castle of...
And I'll pull it up.
It's a Miyazaki film, actually.
Really?
Yes. So
Holy
Miyazaki
shit, really?
made a Lupin the Third movie, and this was it.
Huh.
Even Miyazaki loves Lupin. Check it out.
Okay, then. Well, Persona 5 is amazing.
Yes. It's not out yet, but it looks like it'll be amazing.
Oh, I did actually discover something the other day.
Yes.
There is confirmation that SMT Cross Fire Emblem will be at E3 this year.
Ooh! As long as it's not like a little quote, because it was supposed to be at the last E3.
No,
and all we got was during Codename Steam's like behind doors reveal, where somebody asked like, "Has this prevented you from making Fire Emblem as cross SMT?" And they were like, "Nope, that's still on track," and it's all we've heard of it since.
No, but this time it's actually going to be there.
It better be there. I'll kill somebody if it's not. I'm excited for this game.
There is one more thing that's not on the docket that I just remembered.
Alright.
The trailer for the new Fire Emblem game.
Yes. I think we talked about this.
Oh, yes, we did actually talk about that.
We did.
It still exists?
So, it's still coming out. I hope it's good. I hope they learn lessons from Fire Emblem Awakening. They probably didn't, because Fire Emblem Awakening is really good. Because I'm a more classic Fire Emblem fan. I prefer like that Path of Radiance kind of level design, or Radiant Dawn level design, which is not at all existent in Awakening. Because Awakening, did some cool things with supports. They did some cool things with, making characters interesting, all of them. Can't really say anything about the gameplay. It was kind of shallow. It was kind of easy to, even on Lunatic mode. Like, once you got to the point where you could grind on Lunatic mode, the game was over. Because you could just make Uber hacks tier super units.
Eugenics for everybody. Which I actually kind of love because it's just so...
No, there are tons of people who love that. Even I was like, yes, we're going to make the best.
Well, I didn't make the best, but I like the idea of it because it's just such a... It's just so creepy because it's like, yes, you two must breed.
I love, like, everyone was, like, so super hype about making their super team. And within the game, like, if you don't want to fight the super team, you're just like, hey, you go away.
Yeah.
And so nobody really plays the super teams.
What else?
So I guess that's all of our itinerary, right?
Yeah, that's...
So I guess, I don't know if you want to do a wrap-up, things to come.
Well, let me think. More...
I know, I'm gonna try to finish up Bloodborne.
You are... literally just playing Bloodborne as you are itching to play Bloodborne as we speak.
Yes, like I've got the controller like at my feet. I'm just like, when is this guy gonna get out of my house?
Oh gosh, it's like 4 o'clock, almost 5. I better
get out of here. Nah, but yeah, so I'll be playing some more Bloodborne.
I'm gonna play some more Dragon Ball, and
I'm gonna be playing some more Monster Hunter too. You can bet that.
More Dragon Age for me. Maybe some XCOM, actually. I
don't know. There haven't been any games coming out soon that have really caught my eye. I don't know if for you, are there anything? Or...
anything coming out?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything coming out within, like, the next month, even.
I'm waiting for the Steam sale.
Yeah, well, that's not till, what, summer?
Well, June's coming up.
June's like, it's March. It is March.
It's the end of March. that just shows how excited I am about any games coming out. I want the Steam sale.
I think the next most recent games are ones we've talked about: Metal Gear Solid 5, Persona 5. That's pretty much it. I guess. I guess it's going to be a lot for me going through my Steam library, playing games I haven't played, finishing games I haven't got around to yet. I don't know, I assume they're games you probably have to get around to.
Yeah, like Civilization 5, I got that on sale super cheap. I haven't touched that game in like 5 years, literally. So it's like... Yeah.
Yeah. You still have my copy of Dark Souls too, don't you? Did you ever get anywhere in that? You weren't ready for Bloodborne.
Well, that's it for today, guys.
Alright, I guess that about wraps it up then.
Yeah.
Hopefully next time...
It won't be 2 months later.
Yeah, I don't know, it might be if there's no games coming out.
We'll talk about something. We'll talk about some bullshit.
There's always going to be news. There's always going to be,
Oh! I did think of something coming out.
Alright.
Pillars of Eternity.
No idea.
You seriously don't know about Pillars of Eternity?
I might know about it, but not right now.
Pillars of Eternity is the old school style Baldur's Gate 2 RPG that was kickstarted and got like over $1 million.
Now I know what you're talking about. So I remember hearing this because I looked at Baldur's Gate itself is getting a third game.
You're kidding.
Yeah, there's going to be a Baldur's Gate 3. I have a friend of mine who's really into Baldur's Gate who let me know about that.
Huh.
So, so it's a good time for classic, old-fashioned RPG
I
fans.
actually wanted to mention something about that. I'll make this really quick.
Sure, go ahead.
On one hand, I'm really excited about Pillars of Eternity because I like the story style of old school RPGs. But on the other hand, I really cannot get excited about it because it's going to be an old school RPG.
Yeah, I played through Baldur's Gate with one of my friends. They are so slow and kind of menu grindy.
And the controls are terrible.
Yeah. And especially because I'm a player who likes something like very kind of tense action, like in the moment games.
Well, like, part of the reason Dragon Age 2 didn't do so well is because they made so many changes from the Baldur's Gate 2, and this is why Baldur's Gate did it, and this is the way it's got to be forever.
Yeah.
And it's like, no. Like, two-handed weapons, ever since Baldur's Gate 2, they have been heavy and slow, and that's not the way they actually work, and that's not fun to play.
Yeah.
But they have to be that
trust
way.
me, I am a two-hand sword man.
And
I love my Zweihander. That's one of the things I love about Bloodborne. All weapons are actually two-handed weapons.
But that's the way it's got to be because Baldur's Gate did it.
Yeah.
But
well, that just shows kind of, how games influence each other over time. Like, even now, there are so many games where your two-handed weapon is...
exactly. And that's what and since Pillars of Eternity was made specifically to emulate that, I don't want to return to that.
It's a good thing that Cloud showed us that we can all use a Buster Sword with one hand, lightning fast, 8 slashes at a time.
I don't want that! But I want something else. Something better.
Yeah, no, trust me, I get it too. Like, big swords are great. We love them. We love the feel of them. We love how heavy they are and how... But we don't like spending 2 hours trying to swing the damn things.
Yes. No, that's my last little rant.
So I guess that's about it for us.
Yeah, not with a bang, but with a whimper.
That's kind of how it is right now. I think all the games I really care about I have right now.
Yeah, seriously, all the games we want are out.
So, and the only ones that are in the process are going to be months from now. So, I guess that's the next couple of months are going to be a pretty
boring trip.
Low end time for games. It's going to be time to catch up on your Netflix, catch up on your backlogs, and
that is something I want to do though.
Yes,
the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. I want to watch the rest of that.
Why?
Because it's amazing.
Fair enough.
It is the funniest shit I've seen in a while since 30 Rock ended.
Yeah, I know. I got to catch up on a lot of anime that I dropped just because I didn't have time to keep up with them. One day we're going to talk about all the anime I watch because I watch all of it.
So we're going to talk about
the
crazy
not that
anime
day.
bullshit?
Yes, we're going to talk about all the panty shots.